Here's Tamarac having her first big ride out in my field. Actually, this is my first time riding out in this field since I think the beginning of December when my hand was broken and in a splint. And then right after that, winter hit and it was unrideable all winter. But it is looking good now. And even with all the rain we got last night, the footing out there was still great. So this is a big ask for any green horse to ride them, totally away from the barn, out by the road. Traffic is going by. So there's a lot to see, a lot to hear, and she was great actually. I took her out here the day before just in hand and sort of hand walked her over some logs and things, which of course she was happy to do. But I think it helps a little bit for them to have been out there once before you're out there on their back, because then it's not quite as shocking. Of course, you can't predict all the traffic and things that go by, and it was windy today, but I find it definitely helps to let them have a couple of minutes to process being in the new spot before I go out there on them. And she was great about it. So in the left canter, she always has a great left canter. My hill's pretty well on a slope, especially by Eastern Shore standards. So as we come up the hill here, I think this is where I made a pretty big mistake, and I tried to give her a scratch on her neck because she was being good, but I sort of misjudged what was happening with my left hand. And when I went to give her a little rub on the neck right there, I accidentally sort of like tapped my stirrup with the stick, which I think in her interpretation was me trying to whack her with the stick, which I was trying to do the opposite, but I sort of failed it at the intention. I had to give her a scratch on the neck, and instead I sort of scared her and made her scoot. She was pretty good about it though. I mean, one or two scooty steps and then she came right back. But then I was thinking, okay, I better ride her all the way around and back by that same spot and make sure I don't make that mistake again, so that she doesn't think that I am trying to get after her as she goes up the hill, which I was trying to do the opposite. And actually, she was fabulous as we came by this spot the next time. And as always, I always think that her trot work is best after she's done one canter. She sort of lowers her frame, lowers the base of her neck. I thought she did a really good job of that's right there. She's coming down the slope, and she did a nice job of managing her balance. She opens her mouth a little bit, where I have to make some corrections to sort of tell her to sit down and sit back. But overall, I thought she was excellent about it. So when I took her to the right, I was thinking in the back of my head that I wasn't necessarily going to spend a lot of time today trying to fuss with the right lead canter. I thought that it was a big enough ask to be out in the field. I knew she was going to be happy to pop over a couple of logs because that's just kind of how she is. She's always game to do the jumping part. So I thought I might ask her once, which I did. And then when it didn't happen, she picked up the left lead. I thought, well, we'll just pop over some logs and hopefully at some point she lands on her right lead and then we can work that a little bit. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, if she doesn't, that's okay. It doesn't matter. The point of today is not to drill working on your right lead. The point of today is just to introduce this big new concept of riding out in an open jump field. Her trot work to the right felt really good. I was very happy with that. Oh, we had a nice little trip. She was so annoyed at, she's funny, she's so annoyed at herself after she trips. She trips and then she throws her head up like, ah, oh, I cannot believe that somebody put something there for me to trip on. I thought she felt really good here. I was really happy with her trot work. I really like her frame here. You can see cars are going by. She was so good about not caring about the traffic. That really upsets some horses, especially on a windy day because they can't necessarily hear the traffic until it's whizzing by them because the wind is so strong. But she was excellent about it. Sometimes you'll see me spooking at the traffic because I'm worried the horse is going to spook at the traffic. So we took a little walk break there because she was being really good. And then I thought we'd just see what happens with popping over some logs. I really like using logs with young horses because the log, of course, they can whack the log all they want and it makes no difference. And I always feel like when you're jumping them over shapes that mimic the shape we want them to make, a nice sort of round arch, that for some reason I just find that that helps things to all click. And I was really happy with her there because that was the first time we cantered to a log and I really wanted her to get there on a nice quiet step. And I asked her to wait and she did. She was excellent about that. So then the next time we came, I let the more forward step happen, which she was totally game for that. So then I was thinking, okay, that was quite good. I asked for the right lead canter there, and she picks up the left. And then that's actually the only time I decide to ask for the right lead canter. I thought, well, she's being so good about the logs. She loves jumping over her logs. So we'll just keep popping a few logs. At some point, she'll probably pick up the right lead. And if she doesn't, it just doesn't really matter. She is so brave. I mean, she just looks to me like she's just like, let me go do this. She had a really balanced counter canter down this hill. And then actually, when we got to the bottom of the hill, she felt so balanced that I thought, well, let's just keep cantering and just see if we can find our spot to this log. She got there on a nice, brave distance. She was smart. She changed her lead over the jump. And so then I was happy. I'm like, great, we got the right lead. So I thought, let me just work on the right lead for a minute. So we did one full lap around on the right. So at this point, I was really happy with her. I thought she did absolutely everything I could have possibly expected her to do today. She was super brave and willing to pop over all the little things. Super brave step to that. And then I was thinking she should be done, but since we're up here at the top of this hill in front of this log anyway, we might as well do one more. And she even did that as the truck was whizzing by. Such a good girl.